I need you to share my co-hosting duties for just a bit. First off, who's coming? She's one of the old Fae, and she's very respected amongst the more civilized monsters. They can be bad for business, but luckily we have a truce with them that she enforces, so every now and then we gotta wine and dine her, and maybe a sacrifice every now and then. What did you do? Thank God I never invited you in, Vespera.
God had nothing to do with it. You just have trust issues.
I'm sorry, you were just trying to kill me, right?
Still am.
Well, that's kind of hurtful, especially after all the good times we had.
Please, that was just a 3-month mistake.
Ouch, going right for the throat. Is this because I broke up with you via text? Because I totally own that was a dick move.
We all know you're a dick, but this isn't about that.
Then what is this about?
Your little side business.
Oh yeah.
Selling wooden stakes on freaking Etsy? Seriously?
Okay, I could see how that looks kind of bad, but hey, clearly in some morbid way I was thinking about you, so that's kind of sweet.
Now I'm thinking about you. We're all thinking about you.
Ah, new friends.
3 of my kind have been killed by the sticks that you made. Of course, there's nothing we can do about it because of the truce.
Sounds to me like you should take that up with the hunters, but...
But since you killed the Fae, we're free to do anything we want now.
Actually, my roommate killed the Fae. I wasn't even in the room.
That doesn't really matter now. Point is, no one's protecting you. Eventually, we're gonna find a way in. And when we do, you're gonna die slowly.
So enjoy your last few evenings, mortal. Because we own the night.
Okay, but like you guys don't like him, right? Like you talk bad about him when he's not around? So how's it going? Good, I hope. I'm going through some drama with my ex, you know how it is. And you may be wondering, TC, why would you date a vampire? Well, I don't know, it sounded good at the time. But that's not what you're here for. You're here to see how I built a very unimpressive animatronic endoskeleton. Full disclosure, I'm not an expert on this, and really have no business telling anyone how to do it, but I wanted to build this project, and I figured I'd show you how I threw it together, and maybe it can inspire some people who don't know how to get started on something like this. Also, at the end, we'll throw a costume on it, and hopefully it'll look better. Yeah, that's not too bad, right? I started by cutting some pieces of 1x2s. If you don't have access to a miter saw, then a handsaw will work just fine too, it's just this was a little faster. I wrote the measurements on them just in case you want to try to build this and just get right into it, but they don't have to be these specific sizes. I drilled some holes and I'm going to use this 23-inch piece as like a spine. Then I'm attaching 2 of these 3.5-inch pieces to either side of the spine with a bolt. And then I'm going to put another bolt through the side of this 19.5-inch piece, and then I'm going to fix it to the 2 smaller pieces. This piece is going to be like the shoulders, and I want it to be able to pivot just a bit. Next I'm going to add the head and neck pieces. I'm using a piece of plywood as a base, and I put a bolt through these 2 pieces as well. Here I'm using a big drill bit to make a wider hole to countersink the screws. You want them flush with the wood so they don't catch on anything as the piece rotates. Then add a washer so it spins easier, and those are the joints for our very, very basic robot. And to make it all move, I'm going to use 3 of these 12-volt 60 RPM motors. You can find faster and slower motors in these same sizes, but 60 RPMs will do just fine for what I'm going for. I added a little extension piece, and that's where I'm going to mount the shoulder motor. And if I understand physics at all, this should be a good spot for it to pull a wire to move the shoulders. It's a bit of a process to attach all the motors, so I'll show you all the steps real quick. Also, I'll put links to all these parts below. Now here I'm taking a piece of polypropylene I had lying around, and I'm going to add this to the hub to increase its diameter? Circumference? I don't know math, but I know I need a bigger circle than what this hub is, so yeah. Also, I'm just using a piece of coat hanger wire, and I'm using that to transfer the motion from the motor to the shoulder. I'm sure there's a better piece that's meant for this that you can buy, but I don't know the name of it, so I couldn't search it on Amazon. Yeah, it is what it is. And if I did this right, it should move it up and down. But as you can see, I didn't do it right. I messed up somewhere in the planning stage, and the motor isn't level with the shoulder piece. That will cause a problem while rotating, so I added a piece of wood to raise the point where the wire is mounted, and that looks like it worked well enough. Alright. Then I basically repeated the process for the neck part. Got it pretty level this time, so that's good. And I added a third motor to move the head up and down. And it don't get much more thrown together than that, I'll tell you what. Speaking of thrown together, I also had to make a base for this thing to be propped up on. This shape may vary depending on the pose you want to put it in. My guy is just going to be sitting on the ground. I'm also going to put some weights on these beams at the end to keep it balanced. All the movements could possibly make it lose balance, the motors are jerking all around, so you're definitely going to want it to be bottom heavy. And now I'm going to solder some wires to the motors. Okay, quick soldering crash course. Turn on the soldering iron, very important. Wait till it's hot. Get a little bit of solder melted onto the tip. Put tip against wire, add more solder to wire, and hopefully it will melt and bond the wires. It's pretty simple to do, and it makes you feel like a goddamn Tony Stark while you're doing it. Then I'm going to connect the positive wires from each motor together, and separately I'm going to attach the 3 negative wires together. Then I connected the respective sets of wires to the positive and negative wires of a 12-volt plug. Hopefully that made sense. This is so that all the motors move together when you hit the button. You can wire them separately though if you want more options in the movements, but I just want to have one synchronized thing going on. And to add a button, you just take one of the wires and cut it, and connect the 2 ends to the 2 prong things sticking out of the bottom of the button. And then when you press it, it completes the circuit, lets the current flow through those severed wires, and there you go. And after a quick test, it's looking pretty good. Hopefully I explained all that right. I'm not very technically savvy, so hopefully that made sense. Hopefully the visuals helped. And now I need to find a way to make this thing fill out whatever costume I put on it. I had a lot of cardboard lying around, so I just started hot gluing it to sort of resemble the shape of a human while making sure that the pieces don't affect the movement of the joints. Also, cardboard is really lightweight, which is always good. We definitely want to keep this as light as possible so that the motors don't struggle. And I made the arms hang kinda loose so that they swing a bit when this thing starts moving. That, I believe, is called sympathetic movement amongst the puppeteering community. But yeah, it just gives it a little more life. And it's more movement for less motors, so that's good. And now we can finally throw something over this and see how it turned out. I made this scarecrow mask a while ago, so I decided to just put it on the animatronic. If you do want to see how I made that, though, let me know and I'll make a full video on that. It's just this video is more focused on the animatronic part, so I didn't really get into it. And the head looks kinda derpy, so I cut a good chunk of the upholstery foam off the top of the head, and I think that makes it look a lot better. So there you go. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this build, and realized that you don't need to know stuff to make a robot. I just did it out of trash. Yeah, there's a lot of different poses you could do. You could do a lot of different movements. Have fun with it. Go wild. Let your creativity run free and all that. I don't know. I'm not good at being positive and supportive, but you get the point. But anyway, that'll about do it for this project. And oh, that's right. 8 was on a supply run, wasn't he? Well, I mean, that's clearly a trap. I mean, I guess it's not really that big a deal. I mean, I could always just make another one. Fine, open it up. What?
Ready to die, mortal?
They sent you first? I'm telling you, man, they really don't like you.
I've blocked your only way in. There's no escape.
You sure about that?
How quaint. But you're gonna have to get pretty close to use that.
Sorry, bro. You really seem to like being a vampire. I think this is going to be an ongoing thing.